Hi, I'm Brandon with Flyin Miata. I'm in charge of product development around here, and today I wanted to give you a sneak peek into our upcoming ND Turbo Kit. So we have gotten most of the physical parts, the hardware done, a little bit of tweaking and evaluation left to go, but we are starting on the tuning process now, which can be a pretty big thing. But we're far enough along in the process that I wanted to give you an overview of what the kit was, why we did what we did, and how we did it. So like with any good project, our first job was to establish the goals. Now our goals are to make it as cheap, fast, and reliable as possible. Now that's a pretty common adage in the car horsepower world that says, there are your three options, pick two. So we're gonna prioritize those. Our most important priority is reliability. We want this thing to last a very, very long time. We want your engine to last a very, very long time with it. And that's whether you're driving to the grocery store, driving across the country, or doing lapping days at your local track. Job number two is fast. We want to make as much power as possible, but we want to make as much power as possible on an internally stock engine and with a reasonable safety factor, so we're not bumping right up against that edge where only every third car blows up. That's not acceptable. Now, cheap, or economical, I would say, is absolutely a goal, but it is the third goal in line. So this is not going to be the least expensive kit on the market, but it is going to be the best kit on the market, particularly for the money. Along those lines, it has to be 100% emissions legal. Job number one there is that we are not deleting a catalytic converter. It doesn't matter if you have another catalytic converter downstream. If you delete any emissions equipment off of a car, it is 100% illegal on the street anywhere. Doesn't matter what state you live in. So we're retaining the stock cat. We are also going to have a CARB EO, or executive order, for this kit that makes it 100% legal in every state with no funny business. So that means that you can take it to an emissions inspection, everything goes smoothly as long as the car is in proper working order, and there's no problem there. We're getting there by working with Greg Banish of Calibrated Success, who is an OE level calibrator who focuses on horsepower and emissions. We worked with him on previous projects that have gone very, very well, and so we are doing the same thing here. This is not a tuner that's kind of like, as long as it's not knocking and the air-fuel ratio is okay, we're good. There's a lot more to it than that, particularly in this engine. Related to that as well, we want to stay as close to stock as possible. Mazda did a really good job on this car. That's why we all love them so much. And we only want to change things when there is a good reason to change that thing. Now, obviously, our goals are a little different than Mazda's goals, so we do need to change things, like this guy. But we want to change as little as possible to keep it as close to stock to possible for durability, drivability, emissions reasons, all that stuff. We also want to make it as easy to install. That means parts that fit right the first time. That means parts like these silicone hoses that can be kind of scrunched up into place and then they pop back out into shape once they're there. That means tool access. It means as little complication as possible, basically. I have been on the other side of that equation, and I installed my first turbo kit as a customer of Flyin Miata a very long time ago and learned a lot of valuable lessons in that experience. So that and our 30 plus years of turboing Miatas, we are applying to this to make it the best possible kit. So to start off with, I'm just going to kind of give you an overall picture of what this turbo kit is. As I talked about earlier, we've got a lot of experience turboing Miatas. We know what works and what doesn't, and we're applying those lessons to this kit. So it starts off with a cast iron exhaust manifold. Now that means that it's durable, it's gonna last a really long time. It's not a thing that you ever have to worry about. We also use silicone hoses. Now these preformed silicone hoses are the basis of all of our kits. They are extremely durable. We can make a single piece hose So instead of a bunch of different joints and a bunch of different hose clamps, and every joint is a potential failure point where it could pop off, there are a minimum number of joints. It also allows the fit to be very, very good and the installation to be easy because they are extremely malleable. You can cram them up into whatever shape you want, get them into place, and then they will just pop right back into their original shape. So those work very, very well. Another lesson that we've learned in all of our years of turbocharging is that turbos make coolant very, very, very hot. So we do not want to put that water back into the engine. We want to put it into the heat exchanger or the radiator so that it can shed that heat and then go into the engine. So we've applied that same logic here. Now, we want to make it fit as many cars as possible. And to that end, we're making it fit both automatic cars and right-hand drive cars. Now, we are early in the process. I can't give you a guarantee on that yet, but things are looking promising. So we are basing this kit around the BorgWarner EFR 6258 turbo. We did test a handful of different turbos, both more expensive and less expensive, and this was the best turbo. It was the best in terms of spool responsiveness and power, but most importantly, it was the best in terms of knock resistance. This is a 14:1 compression ratio engine, so that means it's going to be very prone to knock as we cram more air into it, so we need to be very careful of that. That's why we've carefully designed the manifold to flow as cleanly as possible. We use the most knock-resistant turbo that we could, and it's a little bit on the bigger side. Now, big question, will this work for all NDs? It will work for ND1s and ND2s. Currently, it will not work for ND3s. We cannot get access to the ND3 ECU, and that is our stumbling point right now. That may or may not change in the future. What I can tell you is that we are making sure that all of these parts are going to physically fit on an ND3, so when and if we get access to that ECU, this kit will physically bolt on just fine. Okay, so now I want to give you a run on through the turbo on some of the more specific things that we've got here. And to do that, we're generally going to follow the path of the air through the turbo kit as a whole. So that starts right here. Now you may notice that this looks a lot like a stock part. Well, it is a stock part. This is part of the stock Mazda intake. Now, this is a good example of what Mazda did well, which is your car already has a cold air intake on it. So this piece right here sits underneath here and ends about here, which means that it's sucking in ambient cold air from outside of the engine bay. Cold air is more dense, it makes more power, it's more knock resistant, it's good all the way around. And this is a really slick integration to get that, so we reuse that. So from there, we have a piece right here that interfaces with this nice snug fit, reuses the stock rubber grommet, and then brings that air from here to our air box. Our air box is going to sit in the front of the car, right behind the overflow tank, and this is going to ensure that the air entering the turbo is as close to ambient as possible. This is sealed up aside from this inlet right here. It has a clear lid on the top so that you can see what your air filter looks like and you can clean it as necessary. From there, it's going to flow into the turbo. Now, you may notice that we have two MAF or mass airflow sensor locations on this kit. This is part of what I was saying about it being fairly early in the development process, particularly as far as the tuning is concerned. We don't yet know what location our mass airflow sensor is going to be in. So to test it, we have two possible locations, which means we'll test in both to see which one works better. Pros and cons to both of them. So from there, we've got a custom formed silicone hose that's going to bring the air from the air box to our turbo, the 6258. You can see it has a built-in noodle to bring or to connect to the PCV on the valve cover. And it's long enough so that if you have a catch can and air oil separator, like this car does, then you can connect directly to that catch can, depending on your location. So focusing on the turbo for a minute, again, BorgWarner EFR 6258. Lots of neat features in this one. So it has an integrated bypass valve, which makes our plumbing much easier. So we don't have to connect the compressor inlet to the compressor outlet anymore. We just have the bypass valve right there. It has V-bands on the inlet for the turbine and also the outlet. Nice actuator with a very beefy bracket there, wastegate actuator, and some adjustability. Now, like with basically all modern turbos, this one is oil cooled and lubricated and water cooled predominantly after the engine is shut off. So we need to feed this with oil and water. So we want to do that in the most intelligent way possible, but also in the way that's going to be as durable as possible. Now, we use all high quality silicone and rubber hoses in this kit, as far as the oil and water are concerned, but that stuff is more temperature sensitive than metal, go figure. So we want to try to keep those soft hoses as far away from the hot exhaust as possible. So to that end, for the oil, we're not reinventing the wheel. So there's an oil pressure sensor down there. We're gonna use a braided line to bring it up to the oil feed on the turbo. Easy. For the oil drain, again, to keep the soft pieces as far away from the hot pieces as possible, we have a custom extension effectively on the oil drain. So that's gonna get the rubber as far away from the hot stuff as possible, and then it's gonna return straight to the drain pan. For the water, we're getting a little more creative. So this port down here is where we're getting the water from. There's gonna be a custom fitting on that that's going to bring the water forward, and then it's going to connect to this banjo fitting here. You can see it's very long. So that's what I was talking about in terms of keeping the soft parts as far away from the hot parts as possible. So from there, it goes into the center section of the turbo. We're being careful to have the proper orientation on the center section, because if you have it at too much of an angle, the oil can pool inside, it can coke, and it can prematurely kill your turbo. So you want to be careful with that. So you can see that the water comes in at the base of the center section here. These Borg-Warners have two different ports, and then it exits at the top of the center section. So yes, this part is plastic. This is part of the, we don't have all of the production parts yet piece of the equation, but this is going to be a metal tube to get that soft line away from the center section and the turbo and the heat of that. Now this is going to connect to this hose right here, which connects to the upper radiator hose. It's all a single piece connection, and that is going to dump the hot water from the turbo directly into the radiator. So you may notice that this turbo is missing a piece. There's no exhaust on the back here. That is one part that we still need to sort out and figure out exactly what we're doing, including the heat shielding. So we want to be intelligent about all of that. We don't want to make it overly complicated and expensive, but we also want to do the best thing possible and make sure that it is good for both performance and durability. So we don't know what we're doing with the downpipe yet. We do know that we're going to retain the stock catalytic converter, because you have to have that stock catalytic converter to be emissions legal, to be street legal anywhere. And by retaining the stock one specifically, we're gonna save cost in the kit. Now, we will have a complete downpipe that you just bolt in if you'd rather do that than weld your stock cat to the new downpipe. So from there, we're gonna go back to the air. So the air is going to exit the turbo, or the compressor housing of the turbo right here, go through this custom formed hose to the intercooler. Now, this hose has been tweaked a bit to ensure right-hand drive and left-hand drive fitment. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It should fit with a right-hand drive car. We can't see any reason it wouldn't. We also haven't tried it yet, so I can't give you 100%. So from there, it goes into our intercooler. Now, the intercooler is coated in a thermally conductive coating. So this protects it, keeps it looking very nice for a very long time, but it also does not kind of defeat the purpose of an intercooler, which is to shed the heat from the intake into the environment. The intercooler itself is symmetrical. It has these brackets that bolt on. We've got our logo on the front here, so if you'd like to do some advertising for us, that would be great. But if you don't want to, that's fine. We understand. These unbolt, flip the intercooler around, bolt them back on, and there you go. So you have your choice, as per usual with FM turbo kits, of logo or no logo. So from there, we exit the intercooler and flow into this hose. Now you might notice that this hose has a bit of a dip there. That dip is specifically so that it'll fit with automatic cars, because automatic cars have their transmission cooler lines right around in here. From there, it goes into our MAF tube. Again, that may or may not stay there. And then into our throttle body inlet here. Now our throttle body inlet goes up and over the stock battery. We are using the stock battery. We do change its location slightly, but not enough to cause any real complications. Basically, your negative terminal cable is already long enough, and we're going to include a bar to relocate the positive terminal. And this hose just goes up and over and straight to the throttle body. So this is what the kit looks like installed. Now, qualifier, again, this is a prototype kit, and this is our development car. So it has development stuff like big wads of wires and sensors going all over the place so that we can carefully measure all the different specific things to make sure that the car is running properly and address them if it's not. It also has prototype things like we don't have the metal pipe for this yet, so that's different. But I wanted to show you what it looks like in the car. So you can see where the turbo sits. Again, we'll have some kind of heat shield arrangement there. It does clear the stock shock tower brace nicely. The hoses pack in here pretty well. Yes, there's an interference here. Yes, that is part of the prototyping process. There are also a lot of things that you can't see. We have custom heater hoses. You can kind of see one end of it there that tuck in and basically improve the fit versus the stock pipes. There are also little brackets to ensure that we're not hurting the long-term reliability of it. You know, this would be fine for 5,000 miles, but then that would cause a fatigue and fail. For example, there's an AC line that has a stock bracket on it. We can't use that stock bracket because of the new heater hoses, so we have a new stock bracket to ensure that that AC line is still supported. That AC line would probably be fine for a while unsupported, but it won't be good 100,000 miles unsupported, which is why we put that bracket in there. So it's all the detail stuff like that to make it as close to OE as possible. And again, we follow Mazda's lead as much as we can. We either leave the parts stock or we try to duplicate what Mazda did within the new constraints that we have based on what we've done to the car. All right. That is the run through on our brand new ND Turbo. We do reserve the right to change anything as we go through the rest of our development process. So where can you see this in the flesh? We will have it at all of the shows that we go to this year. Mainly that is Miata's at the Gap on the East Coast and Miata Reunion on the West Coast. When can you buy this kit? Good question. So we are aiming for a release sometime in 2027, but we don't have anything nailed down any more than that. We are still fairly early in the process, and there are still some lengthy things that we need to get done, most notably the emissions certification. That's kind of a big deal. Now, if you want to have updates, follow us, like, comment, and subscribe. So be sure you sign up for our newsletter. Be sure to follow us on all of the social channels. We will definitely make noise as we hit major milestones in this kit. So we are super excited to get this kit done, to get it out to you guys, and frankly, to drive it ourselves. Are you excited? What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Do you need one for your car? I think maybe I need an ND so that I can get one of these for that car. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.